J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Wednesday, the 22nd day of November, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to John Moore Show. Before we get started, I want to wish my darling wife, Marianne, Dr. Moore, happy birthday tomorrow. We will not have a live show tomorrow, so happy birthday, my dear. Prepper tip of the day. 22 caliber long rifle ammunition is at the lowest price and best availability in quite a few years, going back to before Hussein Obama was elected. So this would be a great time to stock up. A case of 22 long rifle is 5,000 rounds. That may sound like a lot to the uninitiated, but on one hand, but it really isn't. I'm going to suggest you have at least 2 cases. Take one case and seal it up with packing tape so you're not tempted to take anything out of it. And use the one for your training and hunting and plinking, whatever you want to do. And as you use it up, buy a fresh one, leave that one case untouched. Do not buy Remington bulk pack ammunition. You'll be disappointed if you do. Do not buy the Arms Corps ammunition. It's really dirty. And that's the main 2 caveats. Best place to get your ammunition, any kind of ammunition, is a website. They don't sell anything, but it's sort of like a bulletin board. WikiArms. It's World Wide Web. WikiArms.com. You'll find your best bargains there, I believe. You may find something local if you can get it, but check out WikiArms.com. That's your prepper tip of the day. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend, Professor James McCanney. Professor McCanney is a credentialed astrophysicist. He has taught astrophysics at the university level. He taught mathematics at the university level. He's the author of about 10 books, I believe, with more on the way. An amateur archaeologist and radio talk show host. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, John. How's my sound today?
Outstanding. Good quality.
Good.
Very good quality.
Good. John, last week we left off and a listener had called in and we were talking about the Nazca Plains and he asked a question and I can't remember the term he used, like the flat mountains or something like that. And it's not a standard technical term, but I just wanted to jump in and talk about that. In fact, I talk about those configurations in my paper, and I show them and I show where they are. If you look at the Nazca Plains, and in the mountains, there are big regions and they're triangles, and I show that those are the form of the triangular antennas. And so that's a very common shape. In fact, I show in the appendice, it's a published peer-reviewed paper showing the triangular, and also with pictures in the paper, also I show triangular antennas of the type that you find at Nazca. And so anyway, this is another example where people might say, oh, these are landing strips or something like that. But the kind of spacecraft that the people coming here, if they're aliens and if they're coming here, they don't need a landing strip. They're not coming with airplanes,
Right.
And so they don't need landing strips. These are big antennas, and I talk about those in the paper. So I just wanted sometimes when people write articles, they call things, they make up names and, the flat mountains or I forget what it was, but, they are big valleys up in the mountains off of the Nazca Plains. So.
Right. Well, we see this a lot, Jim, where people, when they come with something they don't understand or don't know, they attempt to, associate it with something they do know, and which sometimes makes sense, but frequently is not even close, is it?
Right. And then they go off into left field and they talk about, well, maybe it was like landing strips is one of the favorite things that started with, was it not Kurt Vonnegut? It was, who was the guy, the Chariots of the God guy.
Von
Däniken?
Yeah.
Von Däniken.
Von Däniken. Yeah.
And so anyway, and there was a case of a quick and dirty also. He flew over these, saw that there were some straight lines from the air, said, oh, these were landing strips of the gods, and published a book, and it made a big splash. And he had the figure of the Palenque. It was kind of like a Palenque warrior. And he said, it looks like he's sitting in a spaceship going up into outer space in a rocket. Well, there again, aliens aren't going to use rockets.
Eric von Däniken.
Eric von Däniken, yeah.
Right.
But people that are aliens are not going to be going up in rockets in a spaceship. You know, I've said all along that that's not the way you go into space. It's a ruse. It's a NASA ruse to make people think that that's how you go into outer space, and it's not. But anyway, so it was von Däniken that started this idea of landing strips of the gods, so to speak. And
right.
Unfortunately,
his book was published 49 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it came. 1968.
And unfortunately started a long series of other authors, if you even want to call them that, using the blank of the gods title. And thank goodness I never fell into that silly trap.
Right.
You have thunderbolts of the gods, you have everything of the gods, you know.
Well, it was a marketing success, and that's why people did that, obviously.
Yeah, there was anyway.
It's sort of like the sticker as seen on TV.
Right.
Not
available in stores.
If you're in Walmart and you see the sticker as seen on TV, that instantly gives tremendous credibility to whatever gadget or gizmo it might be, right?
John, you're making me laugh. It's too early. No, that's true. Something blank of the gods. Please, if you're an author, please no more. I can't stand it. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
Let's do. Jim, there's been this dam-breaking effort on the part of the media to publicize national personalities with sexual harassment charges the last several weeks. It's like the dam burst about 3 or 4 weeks ago, beginning with this character out of Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein. Is that his name?
Yes.
It's just it's wild. It's absolutely wild to observe this. How much media attention is being given to this, to the exclusion of real, things that really are important, that really do matter and affect all of us. I'm sure that these matters are important to the individuals involved, but sexual harassment is something that I don't believe should be national news most of the time. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because it's well known, for example, in the movies with Weinstein, that it's well known. It's called the casting couch. That if you want to get and then they list Halle Berry and Jennifer, what's her name? The friends. No, Jen, Brad Pitt's first girlfriend.
Okay.
And
I don't read People magazine, so I don't know many of these people.
Yeah, right. But anyway, they listed 4 people that were, supposedly victims of sexual harassment. Well, Jennifer Aniston. She would not have gotten a part in a high school play. I mean, her role is always the ditzy chick that lives in an apartment and, has the reactions to stuff. I mean, there's no acting there. And so these people, they went this route to get their career boosted, and now they're complaining. So, excuse me, you got on the silver screen where nobody else got to go because of what you did, and now you're claiming you were harassed? No, you played, or Madonna. Oh my goodness. Madonna's about being independent woman. Hey, there's nobody on the planet that sold her body more than Madonna. Excuse me.
Is she another one making these complaints also? I'm not worried.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
Is she?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
she was crying that she was abused and it's so hard for a woman. Yeah. Tell me with all your millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, Madonna, how abused you were. And she had a quote. I saw her say this. They said, Madonna, you're using sex and everything else to sell your music. And she goes, yeah, well, lucky me. That was her comment 15 years ago. Now it's like, oh, terrible me. How terrible it was for me to, grow up through this industry. No, Madonna, there's, and I like some of her music, not all of it, but excuse me, you sold your body and your being to this industry, and now you're complaining and telling us all how tough it was to become this multi-gazillionaire? Don't even give me a crying rag, please. And the thing is that it's well known. And so if some woman entered this industry not knowing that, and they all know that and this is the same, let's talk about what they did. They read the news that was given to them. And like this guy, Charlie Rose, he's the latest so-called victim or victimizer.
Right.
But these women, that's how they got their job. Or who was there was a woman who was, claiming how bad it was for her. Well, they all know that if they don't read the fake news, there are going to be 200 other people clamoring at the bit to get their job. So they read the fake news. So come on, we're talking about prostitutes from the information prostitutes. So don't cry to me about how terrible it was that some guy groped you. Your whole being is being groped. It's not just physical. And you're reading fake news to the public and sitting there with a big pretty smile on your face, knowing that there's 200 other pretty women that would be in your spot if you didn't. So don't even bring out the crying rag for me. But go home and shut up.
All right. Well,
anyway,
let's move on.
You asked my opinion.
Well, I did, and I want to thank you for giving it, Jim.
But there's another thing too in the workplace that's not public, that these people are not getting high-paid public positions. There's a problem, and there always has been in the United States. And it's not the United States; it's every place. The United States actually has some laws, and there's people at least are aware of it. So people that are abusers are more conscious and a lot more careful today. So abusing women is not a good thing, but especially when it's in these lower profile. But what we're talking about here are the high profile ones. And so, but I've seen it in reverse too, which nobody is talking about. I've seen companies where women get the upper hand in, say, management or administration, and they hire only women. Men do not proceed in those corporations. Right. And so women are just as guilty of it once they get into power. So
I've seen that. I've seen that also. I have seen that. The problem with sexual issues, harassment and rape in the U.S. military has grown exponentially since they began integrating women into the Corps and taking away the protected status they had for decades, which worked. That protected status recognizes human behavior and deals with it appropriately. Attempting to treat men and women as equals and taking away their protected status is what's led to the sexual harassment and rape that's been going on in the U.S. military since they lost their protected status, Jim, and I believe that was a massive mistake, and I don't see any hope of it changing and going back to the way it should be anytime soon. It's a very sad situation. These young women, 18, 19 years old, coming from the protected status of being a girl at home with her parents and entering the military with false hopes and false beliefs, end up being sexually harassed and raped both. It's a very sad situation, Jim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's. I just read something also about that, and it has to be on a local level because we don't have watchful eyes in all these places. But I'll tell you something: when you get outside the U.S., it's really bad because there are young women are just fresh meat. If they go for a job, they go to positions, especially if it's government related or something like that, they are just, so I will tell you that the U.S. is leaps and bounds and light years ahead of other countries.
Well, when my daughter was a teenager and becoming a young woman going out on her own, but when she was a teenager, I told her to memorize the following to tell the man who might want to cause her harm. This was what I told her to memorize. My father is a Green Beret. He will find you. He will kill you.
That would be something enough to set a person straight. Yeah.
Well, it apparently worked. Whatever it takes. I knew I couldn't be with her 24/7, and that was my way of dealing with it.
Great. Oh yeah, it's.
Here's our break. Call number is 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at the We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. Quick reminder, my Black Friday sale begins Thursday, tomorrow, the 23rd, goes through midnight Monday, $25 off energy cleaners, 10% off mattress pads. If you're mailing a check, make sure it's postmarked before midnight Monday. We're visiting with Professor James McCanney. His website's linked at my links page at thelibertyman.com. And Jim, you have 2 weekly radio shows. Tell people how they can listen live in the archives, if you would, please, sir.
Oh, thanks, John. John, I want to say something quick first before I forget about it. This frenzy now of trying to expose, stalkers or in the workplace, harassment opens up the door for false accusations against people. And that's one of the in fact, women who are doing this have to watch out for this and kind of control the women, because if it starts to happen where it becomes known, as happened with Trump, all the false accusations that came out and that were planted, then they run the risk of losing the air in their balloon.
Right.
Because, crying wolf, so to speak. And so, it's a two-edged sword, so they have to be really careful, because this is just like right now, it's like a shotgun, it's just blasting out there, and you see it in the news, it damages somebody's reputation, and that's what 99% of the people see, and they never see the follow-up that, this was a false accusation, or there was some political or other motivation for trying to damage this person, professional aspirations or something else, somebody trying to climb up over this person. Oh, let's get him with sexual harassment. And then the damage is done. So if that starts to happen on a regular basis, then they're going to damage their cause. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, I understand that. We got a caller on hold here. We got Fred in Wisconsin. Good morning, Fred.
Morning, guys. I just have a question. When you started talking about Van Donegan and all that, there's that TV show that's on cable and whatnot called Ancient Aliens. And I was always, I watch that show and I see different things, and I just wonder, I'd like to hear what the professor has to say about it.
Please.
Well,
go ahead, Jim.
Well, I have been on the History Channel. I was on there not for that. I was on for it was quite well done series on ancient disasters, and my particular specialty was on that series was the Hopi Indians, plus other commentary, putting in my 2 cents worth on reality with Planet X and things like that, not the goofy stuff that you see all over the internet. But that show I have seen quite a bit, and out of interest watched it because a lot of the people on there are self-made, let's put it that way, experts. And they've created their own little market niche. I did not see anybody who was professionally trained, let's put it that way. And so, I'm amazed they get that much content out of nothing. I guess that's my comment. And I'm waiting for something real, excuse me, to be presented, like real information. I had, in the time I was watching, I didn't see any.
Well, I just, I think I'm kind of stuck like you are on that. I had got some interest starting by listening to Mr. Moore's show, and there was a guy that at the point when I started listening that he was talking about, which is the empire beneath the ice and all this stuff with the Antarctica. And so I bought that book, and then I started looking at some other things, and then most recently I got this book called the U.S. Navy Secret Space Program. Are you aware of those books?
Oh, yeah. There's, thousands of these out there. Yeah.
And would you think that any of what they're talking about has any validity?
Well, okay. Let's take, there's pages out there that take what I would call the laundry list of topics in alternative media. Okay. So right. you either grab 1 or 5, whatever, write a book on it, go around, scour the internet, use a vacuum cleaner, pull up bits and pieces from here and there, write a book. And that's what these are. And once again, these are people that, believe me, have been no place near a black ops operation. And so I have. I mean,
do you believe or disbelieve that Tompkins has any credibility?
Well, let me not pick out particular names, but
okay, that's fine. That's fair.
Look at the source and their credentials and where they really have been. Well, and
thank you for your time, sir.
Okay, thank you for the call, Fred. We got a bottom of the hour break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 22nd day of November. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. My webmaster, Tim Spencer, has posted a really nice, colorful banner at the top of my website. It says John Moore, Prague Peace Prize Laureate 2017. I told him to be creative, and he did a good job there. Also, my website, of course, you'll find interesting free downloads. I had a good chuckle this morning. I needed a laugh, so I watched the little segment from that BBC put together called Real Housewives of ISIS. It's a pretty funny 2 minutes, and if you need a chuckle, I think it's a great way to get a little laugh to start the day. And, of course, don't forget the images of continents with new coastlines. We have quite a few of my listeners participating. This list is long and getting longer. The most recent one is actually the two most recent ones are both 1957 films. One is titled The Night the Earth Exploded. The other is titled The 27th Day. Both of them have the Navy map on there. And, of course, the Energy Cleaner, a marvelous healing device. The Black Friday sale begins Thursday, the 23rd, goes to the midnight Monday, the 27th, $25 off energy cleaners, 10% off mattress pads. When you make your purchase, you'll be paying full price. It's an automated system that I'm not going to change for a 3-day sale. You pay full price. I manually refund the difference. If you're writing a check, just write it for the correct amount. $25 off energy cleaners, 10% off mattress pads. I'm noticing a increase in people buying gifts for others, energy cleaners for somebody that they care about, a friend or a relative. And that's a lot of fun to help somebody that needs help with our joint pain, arthritis pain, back pain. People aren't getting a great night's sleep. That includes an awful lot of American adults, doesn't it? Of course it does. Keep in mind, I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And I do take PayPal, the most secure way to make any payment online. I really like PayPal. PayPal, of course, now takes payments. If you need to spread out that dollar amount over several months, you can do so with PayPal. MasterCard, Visa, and, of course, like as I mentioned a moment ago, checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. My toll-free hour line, 24 hours a day, here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Visiting with Professor James McCanny. His website is linked to my links page at thelibertyman.com. Jim, would you like to share with us what your Thanksgiving's going to look like?
Well, I'll be doing my radio show.
Okay.
And so I always do, since it falls on Thursday every year, I do a Thanksgiving special. So that'll be preparing notes. That'll be part of it. Part of it will be outside working, and that's the great outdoors is my gymnasium. And so yesterday I had a pretty good strenuous workout, and tomorrow will be the same, I believe. So I do that part of the day just to keep the body going, and then I do things like this to keep the brain going.
Right.
And other than that, just relaxing and enjoying the good health. And so,
absolutely. Well, I'm doing an antenna installation here in Osage Township Saturday. Part of our emergency preparedness is going to be a group of several men, and we believe we have everything we need, but there's always surprises when this kind of job comes up. Jim, we got a caller on hold here. We got David in Massachusetts. Good morning, David.
Hey, good morning, John. I enjoy listening to your guest. I didn't catch his name, but he seems like a very level-headed, thoughtful man. I really enjoy listening. Well, I always enjoy listening to you, too, of course, but I really enjoy listening to your guest.
All right.
You know, what is your guest's name, John?
James Mechanic.
Oh, okay,
Professor
James.
Mechanic.
I'd like to, ask James this here, because he seems thoughtful. I'm a thoughtful man myself, so I guess it takes one to know one. But James, you said James, John, right?
Right.
His name is, yeah. Okay, all this talk about sexual misconduct, okay? And I've been the victim of all this kind of crap, which maybe if we have time, I'll tell you a little bit about it. But the main point I want to get to is, who the hell, in the final analysis, who the hell is going to define, who's going to be the final arbiter of sexual misconduct if nobody wants to talk about sexual conduct? Nobody wants to talk about sexual conduct. Now, when I was a kid, I used to get a report card years ago, and apart from our grades in the courses we were taking, studies, we got graded for conduct and we got graded for effort. And needless to say, with my kind of a personality, if you ever got to know me, I didn't get very many A's in conduct. But not that I'm a bad person, but I'm outspoken and I don't just go along with a whole bunch of lies. And, but anyways, what the hell, if there's sexual misconduct, there must be sexual conduct. So I haven't heard anybody define what sexual conduct is. In other words, if we don't define what sexual conduct is, then there can just be, for example, like just a wholesale attack on men in masculinity and on the male gender. If you're male, you're a sexual misconductor.
Right.
So anyways, what do you think, James? No, I haven't heard anybody define what sexual conduct is. No, there's got to be proper sexual. What the hell is sexual conduct?
Well, that's a good question, and this has grown like a lot of things out of, it has taken a life of its own. The other thing is when feminism moved in, it started in the 60s as kind of liberating women, and in a sense, women always had most of the control if they acted like women. Where they lost traction, I believe, is when they started to want to act like men and be, there was never a movement amongst men to try and be like women. It was always women trying to act like men, and really what it was designed to do, which it very much did, was destroy the family. And it created a tremendous amount of anger amongst women. And you'll find this, oddly enough, in the universities. You find women who they see a young, adjunct professor coming in, and they go to work on them. I've seen it. And, in 5-10 years, these women are raging feminists. Hate men are all bad, we gotta battle them, and it, really destroys real feminism. The ability of women to get their way being women. Anyway, but talking about conduct, that's a good question. Now, I've been in work environments where they do a lot of talk about this topic, and there's not a single shred is allowed of misconduct. But when you see people vying for positions, you see the gloves come off. And so, it's interesting to watch this. I've never vied for high positions in corporations myself. I just, if I was, anyway, but, it's, there's a lot of definition in there. And the problem is we're dealing with human nature and human activity, which is very complicated. But, basically, you're not allowed in the workplace to promote anything that would require, hint at sexual advancements, any advancement towards a woman, because and by the way, they never look at it in reverse, where women are preying on men, which happens in the workplace too. I've been a victim of that. And that it ain't fun, because they just kind of like brush that off. If a woman is chasing down a guy at work, that happens too, but that's not sexual misconduct. And, by today's standards.
Okay. We'll answer your question there, David.
Way back in.
But
thanks for your response. But just a couple of things real quick. I want to tell you about one time when I was at gender studies at Harvard University. And I never went to Harvard, but I lived back here I lived in Alaska for years, but my mother got sick, so I came back here in the late 90s from Alaska to take care of my mother. And I was friends with another really great man, Green Beret, and John doesn't have to comment on this because it's a controversial, but I was good friends with, when I say good friends, I don't want to exaggerate, but I got to know Bo Gleitz quite well because I really worked hard for his campaign when he was running against George W. Bush for president, and his campaign focused on Alaska. He even called his campaign, I believe, Operation Alaska. So I learned a lot about the Green Berets and the POW issue and everything, and I learned, really learned what truly great men these Green Berets really are. But anyways, but I'm back here in Massachusetts, and I want to tell you what happened at a gender studies that I went to, just to do the heavy looking on. It was shocking, but quickly, before I say that, before I lose this thought, another important thing that I don't know what to call a technique, or just to kind of get things in focus. I'll say to these, there's all kinds of even the really nice women back here, they're so poisoned by this radical feminism. Even the really nice ladies, that their heart's in the right place. You can tell their mind's been affected by this. Maybe their heart hasn't, but their brain has. But I'll say to some of my female friends, if they get on kind of on this subject somehow, and even if I'm the only guy and there's several women, I'll say, I'm not a feminist. And they'll look at me and they'll say, that surprises me, Dave. You're such a nice guy. I thought that you were a nice guy. They'll say to me, I might have to kind of reassess my friendship with you. I just assumed you were a really nice guy. You seem like such a nice guy. You're not a feminist? I say, no, I'm not a feminist. I'm a femininist. I'm not into feminism. I'm into femininism. There's an extra syllable in there. I'm not a feminist, I'm a femininist. And I'm not into feminism, I'm into femininism. And they have to I said, listen real closely. There's an extra syllable in there. And so they finally get it, what I'm saying, that I'm into femininism, not feminism. And then they want to know the difference. And what you touched on, James, I just say, to me, feminism is women trying to be men in terms of just abandoning the family, de-emphasizing the family and going after all the greed for money and power and all that. We're a feminist, which I'm a feminist, and into that. It's a woman being all she can be as a woman. Just becoming a beautiful woman, not becoming an obnoxious man. These feminists are more obnoxious than the most obnoxious man. To me, feminism is a woman developing all her God-given potentials and talent, but as a woman, not trying to become some kind of grotesque version of a man, So that's an important thought too. But before I tell you, if I have time, what happened at Harvard. at the gender studies, which I really want to tell you. The one last thing. What's your response to
well, tell us. Tell us what happened at the study, please.
What happened at Harvard, David?
Oh, okay. I went, and I do this sort of thing. John knows.
Tell us what happened at Harvard, David.
Yeah, okay, John. Yeah, I'm at Harvard. This was several years ago, and of course the students were there. These young women. There was just about no men. And I'm an older man. I'm an older man. Now I'm a senior citizen. I'm in my mid-60s. It was these young women, and I'm pretty astute, and I've been a cab driver all my life. I know my people.
He has to tell us either, or
tell us what happened.
We don't have his life story here.
Oh, okay. No, there was an instructor there, two ladies up at the desk teaching, and I could tell, one of them was a Jewish lady, and they were lesbians, a couple of lesbians, and anyways, they were saying, they were teaching these young women about how our founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, how they treated their women, and this Jewish lesbian and everything is saying, their woman. They treated this is practically an exact quote. The founders treated their women little better than they did their black African slaves. They treated their wives little better than their black African slaves, and they'd take the cat o' nine tails even to their wives. If their wives
that was obviously falsehood. David, we do thank you for the call. Let's move on here to Glenn in Philadelphia. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Jim. Please, consider in the future shutting that guy down. He will just consume your clock.
Okay.
Dr. McKinney. I guess I was first Professor McKinney, actually. I was heard earlier in the program we talked about the Nazca lines, and I'm curious about this hypothesis about antennas for a couple reasons. I'm familiar with long wires, verticals, dipoles, quad beams, dish antennas. I can't for the life of me figure out why anyone would shape an antenna like a terrestrial creature in such a way that it would create, magnetic fields going at, incongruous angles and stuff like that. And where precisely does one connect the coax anyway for these antennas?
Well, I talk about that in the paper, the method of signaling and driving these. But the reason for these shapes, now imagine if these were just lines. Then somebody might think, well, this is for agriculture or their paths. Excuse me. Or something else, but to find monkey shapes and whale shapes gets your attention. So they did this on purpose to get the attention once people are flying, and it works. The first guy that flew over these, Paul Kosak, looked down and saw one of the animal figures and immediately knew that there was something more going on here than straight lines or little. Oh, excuse me. I hate to do that on the air. But they did this, and to me also, it's kind of whimsical. It's playing with our minds. And so this brought attention to the area. Maria Reich goes there immediately, spends the rest of her life there. And so it did exactly what it was intended to do, get our attention.
Right. Hold on, gentlemen. We have our last break here. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back here on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. Glenn, you got a final comment before we wrap this up?
Yeah, the Nazca lines, certainly, fall among the mysterious megaliths of the ancient past that were found all over the planet. And, they beg the question of, who had the ability to do that, just as like with the pyramids and underwater, megalithic structures that are being discovered. So the question is, who did this? Obviously, the Nazca lines are designed to be viewed from above. I've heard, hot air balloon theories. I've heard, airplane stories and stuff like that. When I look at the works of like Steve Quayle, talk about tying the biblical stuff about these other races, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, all that kind of stuff. The giants. It seems like somebody was here before us, and they seem to have had capabilities that we humans really haven't really evolved. I don't know how much technology it would take to do the Nazca lines, but clearly somebody who had the capability of aerial perspective was involved with that. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. We're at 2 minutes, Jim, for your final comment, sir.
Well, John, I just encourage people to listen to my show regularly, and I'm finally getting caught up on a lot of my busy work, which is good, but all the information on the webpage, jmccsci.com. And remember that John has his affiliate water filter advertisement on his page, so if you're looking for the water filters, check out John's page there. The advertisement is there, and then John gets credit for that sale too. So just remind people of that. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We made it through at least this far through this year, so that's something to be thankful about.
Well, and a little more than a month and 8 days, 8 or 9 days. It'll be 2018, won't it, Jim?
Oh my goodness, this was an amazing year, and but people ask me if I look for disaster in the near future, and I just myself have a very positive attitude in what I'm doing, and that's what you have to do, is concentrate on what you're doing and try and cause as little harm as possible and just fly under the radar if possible.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, I don't want to be cut off by the music. I want to thank you for being with us, sir, and look forward to having you back next Wednesday.
Thanks, John.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we got a top of the hour break coming up. We'll have open lines this second hour, and the call number will be 800-313-9443. Yeah, it's a fast-changing world, no doubt, and we'll be changing faster. 2018 will be a year of, many interesting things happening. You can count on it, as every year is. So, hopefully, we will find a way out of these wars, destroying some of the best and brightest we have in Afghanistan and sometimes in Iraq and even Nigeria. How about that? Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. We will have archives tomorrow and Friday. Thursday and Friday will be archive shows. This will be our last live show of the week. And here's your prepper tip of the day. Prices for .22 long rifle ammunition are lower than they've been in many years, since before Hussein Obama got elected the first time. Great availability also, so there's good stocks available at very good prices, and I'm encouraging people as a prepper tip of the day to stock up. And when I say stock up, I mean get serious about it. Get 2 cases. A case of a .22 long rifle is 5,000 rounds. 2 cases, obviously 10,000 rounds. Couple of caveats: do not buy Remington bulk pack ammunition. They're other .22 is fine, but do not get Remington bulk pack ammunition. And do not buy Arms Core. Arms Core is a very dirty, slow-burning powder. If you're only going to shoot it in rifles, it'll be okay, but in pistols, the slow-burning powder It doesn't have time to burn, and it really makes your pistols really dirty really quickly. Great place to buy your ammunition is the following website. They don't sell anything, by the way. That's a place where the people who do sell list their wares for sale. Wiki Arms. That's Whiskey India Kilo India Arms. WikiArms.com. You'll find every kind of ammunition you ever imagine there, and you'll find the best prices. We have open lines here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443, taking your questions, calls, and comments. I've been working with Tim Spencer to update my website, get rid of some things that no longer apply, and get a couple of new things posted, such as the banner at the top of my homepage, very colorful banner. It says John Moore, Prague Peace Prize Laureate 2017. That's quite a distinction. I'm very proud of it. And of course, the thing posted this week, the article with my commentary, ICE agent commits suicide, scrolling down the left side, ICE agent commits suicide with my commentary. I believe it's worthy of your time to read it. Let's see here. Lots of interesting things. And we have there, you can spend a lot of time at my website. EMP, of course, is an ongoing concern, as well it should be. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, has given testimony before U.S. Congress about the clear and present danger of EMP in an attempt, thus far unsuccessful, in an attempt to get Congress to authorize spending the money necessary to protect our national power grid. Now, the way they throw money around up there for things that are unconstitutional, which any transfer of money to private citizens, by the way, is unconstitutional, according to Article 1, Section 8. They could find the money if they chose to, but they've chosen not to. Dr. Peter Pry, who's been a guest on this show, the former head of the EMP Commission, which lost their funding in September, by the way, he advocates the states, the 48 lower states, actually 47. One of the 48 states is already islanded from the other 47, that being Texas. The other 47 states need to island themselves. I believe one or two others may have already done that. When I say island themselves, have a way of cutting off their state's power grid from the other 47 states, so that they would have a better chance of not only surviving EMP attack, but getting back online as quickly as possible due to mitigating that damage by that islanding effect. And I encourage people to have their own backups. I just took delivery the other day, Saturday, of a roll of special wire mesh that I'll be installing in my powerhouse, where my alternative power nickel iron alkaline batteries are kept. Our equipment to run everything is kept, and I'll be lining the whole inside of that building with this special wire mesh in an effort to protect our equipment from the EMP. And it's going to be it'll take about, I'm going to say 4 to 6 hours to do this. It's not a huge project. A project I can do by myself, by the way, with a good pair of shears to cut the mesh, and a heavy-duty industrial stapler to staple it to the inside of the building. Not a big deal, but it needs to be done. And the reason I'm saying this is to encourage you to begin, if you haven't begin your own alternative power, so you can have a way to pump water out of the ground if you have a well, have some lights, have your emergency communication system run, have the blower motor work on your furnace. Many furnaces these days have electricity to make them run, even though it might be gas or wood burning. They still need electricity to have all the equipment work. And having backup power to do that would be a smart thing, don't you think? I believe it would. true independence is hard to achieve while maintaining some of the modern things that we want and need, which reminds me of something Command Sergeant Major Page told me several years ago. He says, John, Americans have difficulty telling the difference between wants and needs. And I thought about that a moment, and I instantly recognized the truth, the validity of what he was saying, that most Americans, most of the time, have difficulty telling the difference between wants and needs. So when it comes to backup power, I would start small and go from there. It's going to be a learning curve to understand what electricity is, how to properly store it, how to generate it, and so forth. I remember I was out with some people looking at a piece of property that we were considering buying, and there was a creek that had about a 5 or 6 foot waterfall. It was I would say the volume of water was maybe the equivalent of maybe 3 or 4 garden hoses. Not a whole lot of water. And one of the men in this group was asking, and he was asking in good faith and out of ignorance, if there would be enough water to provide the electric needs for about 2 dozen or 3 dozen people. And I knew he was completely ignorant of what it takes to generate hydroelectric power, and politely told him, no, that's not even close to the electric you would need to have the things, the electrical equipment that 3 or 4 dozen people might need. Hydropower, of course, is an excellent way to generate electricity. Once everything is set up, you have maintenance costs, but you're not paying for any fuel, because the fuel is the water, and that's great. And it's a 24/7 as opposed to solar power, which is obviously only the intense parts of the sunshine part of the day. Wind power, which comes and goes depending on where it is. A lot of places the wind dies down to almost nothing at night, and it starts up again in the morning. So hydroelectric is an excellent source of power, and that's what I have here at my place. We did a search in the south central Missouri looking for a place that had a good size spring to be able to accomplish this goal, and we found it. I was talking to Steve Ellis with ZapWorks recently. He and his friend Hank, they did manufacture a nickel metal batteries, the nickel iron batteries, batteries that basically last forever up there in Montana. They're working with an investor to get back into production, and I believe they're close. I've got the nickel iron alkaline batteries myself. Excellent batteries. Developed by Thomas Edison more than a century ago. I believe they went into production around, don't quote me on this, about 1906 was about when they went into commercial production. At the Thomas Edison factory, at the Thomas Edison Museum in New Jersey, if you were to visit there today on the 22nd day of November, you would see nickel iron alkaline batteries more than a century old that have been going through daily discharge cycles for decades, literally for decades. Now this is extraordinary. When Hank and Steve were wanting to get these batteries into production, they were in touch with some of the executives with several of the big battery manufacturers in the United States. And they asked the following question, and they got the following answer. Why did you take these out of production? Why don't you produce them now? And they basically were told that they didn't want to manufacture something that would never wear out. That was the answer. We don't want to manufacture something that will never wear out. It's an extraordinary product, to say the least. They don't have the issues that lead-acid batteries have. Besides never going bad, you can't overcharge them, you can't undercharge them, and you can't over-discharge them, is what I'm trying to say, and cause harm. You simply can't. It's amazing technology. I look forward to soon, and I'm not promising a date, to soon having the nickel iron alkaline batteries once again for sale. Their initial run was taking older Edison batteries, cutting the case apart, which was a steel case, taking out the plates, the nickel iron plates, despite being 60, 70, 100 years old, were still in pristine condition. And then building new batteries with the original plates. That's how they got started in this business. Well, they eventually exhausted all inventory of those old batteries that they could get their hands on. And they've been struggling ever since I've lost track of how many years, 4 years, 5 years, struggling to get back into production. It's kind of ironic. I was riding my motorcycle. My wife was on the back. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we were riding past the University of Missouri at Rolla, the University of Science and Technology, literally a world-class university for engineering at Rolla, Missouri. And I'm on the outer road there, Interstate 44, and I'm driving past this facility that the university owns, and it had this array of solar panels and wind generators to generate wind electricity with wind power. It was a Friday afternoon. I pulled to the parking lot and told my wife I'd be back in a minute. I went and talked to the receptionist, and I asked to speak to the person in charge of all this alternative power. I got his name and phone number. He was already gone for the day, and I gave him a call Monday morning. And I identified myself. I said, "Sir, I understand you're in charge of all this alternative electrical power." And he said, "Yes, he is." Now, just to set the stage here, this is a professor at a world-renowned university of engineering, University of Missouri at Rolla, Missouri. You drive through their campus, you see students from all over the planet, literally from all over the planet, coming there to get their engineering degrees. Excellent, excellent university. And a man with very serious, impeccable credentials. So I said, I'd like to ask you about all this alternative power you've got going out there, solar power, wind power. I said, let me guess, you do store this energy in lead-acid batteries? He says, well, yes, they're gel cell, but basically they're lead-acid batteries. I said, okay, good, that's what I thought. And then I said, are you aware, sir, of nickel iron alkaline batteries, Edison batteries? And there was silence at the other end. And he said, no, I'm not. Now, I was disappointed but not surprised. Disappointed but not surprised. Now, I wouldn't expect a carpenter or a plumber or a automobile mechanic to know about nickel iron alkaline batteries. But I did hope that a professor in that area of expertise at a world-renowned university, University of Missouri at Rolla, Science and Technology, I did have an expectation that at least he should know that these things even existed, and he didn't even know that they existed. So I went on to give him and I was on the telephone, of course. I'm sitting in my living room here in Davisville. I probably should have made an appointment to talk to him in person. I went on to give him a brief description of the Edison battery, what they are, how they work, how they never wear out. And he was polite and listened. That was the end of our conversation. We've never talked since. I don't know if he's even still there or not. Doesn't matter. But the batteries are the weak link in pretty much all these alternative energy projects people want to put together, whether it's solar power or wind power even hydroelectric to a certain extent. That's the missing link for the following reason. To do a system and do it right, you need to store up the electricity. That's what you need to be able to do. And the way to store it in most of these systems is lead-acid batteries. Now, Trojan is the company that makes the batteries used in forklifts and golf carts. They make the really large, very expensive industrial batteries that are used all over the planet, literally. They're great batteries, and they work perfectly on one hand. On the other, 10 years is a pretty average. 12 years is stretching the life of these very large, very expensive batteries. When I call it the weak link, the batteries to power a house, if you're using high quality lead-acid batteries, could easily cost $10 or $20, even $30 or $40,000, easily. Now, if you're only going to buy them one time, that would be an acceptable dollar amount for your system. But 10 years or 12 years will pass pretty darn quick, and you've got $25 or $30 or $40,000 worth of scrap metal, basically, to go to the recycle place. That's what you've got with lead-acid batteries. I truly wish that I could offer for sale the nickel iron alkaline batteries. I could sit here and say, come and get them. We got them. Sign up here. But we don't. And hopefully they will happen soon. We had a break. The call number is 800-313-9443. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. A quick reminder, my Black Friday sale begins tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd. It goes until midnight Monday, the 27th. It's $25 off mattress, off the energy cleaner, 10% off mattress pads. Before we get to our next caller, here's for you homeschoolers out there, parents or grandparents. So here's a great science project that you can do. Probably find what you need in your garage or basement to do it with. It's called Earth Battery. Earth batteries. All you need is some moist soil. If it's dry, it's not going to work. Moist soil. Hopefully your backyard would be a handy place if the soil is moist. And 2 metal rods of different metals. One could be steel, one could be aluminum, one could be copper, one could be steel, just so they're different metals. And they have to be driven to the ground, or maybe a foot deep or so, on a north-south axis. So if you don't know where north is, get a compass, figure out where north is. And when you attach a wire between the two, where the two wires come together, you get electricity. They've been doing this since the 1840s, believe it or not. Earth batteries. My friend Tim Spencer, he was an observer once of a U.S. Army experiment where they had an area about the size of a garden plot, maybe 40 by 40 set up, and the farther apart the two metal rods are, the more electricity you get, by the way. And inside a tent, they had a number of electrical devices running off the Earth batteries. We got a caller here on hold, my friend Dan in Missouri. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, John. Thanks to you and listening to your show a number of years ago, it's my understanding I bought one of, if not the last set of those nickel-iron batteries, and I am eternally grateful that you were interviewing those guys and brought me up to date on what's available out there, even though it's over 100 years old. But what I wanted to ask you is to go ahead and finish. I'm sure I'm almost positive you've got the knowledge that there's a few companies, or at least one that I know of, that's producing what they call a nickel-iron battery. And I guess it is.
Edison Iron, that's who they are.
Yeah. It's not made.
The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes and no.
Yeah, fill us in on that, would you?
Well, this is important because people could think they're buying the real deal and they're not.
That's why I brought it up.
Well, I appreciate that. What they're doing is on the cheap. They're taking steel plates and putting a nickel coating on them. So technically they are a nickel-iron alkaline battery on one hand. On the other, the nickel-plated iron starts peeling off at about 11, 12 years, which is why the warranty goes to 12 years. So you may think you're getting the real deal, but what you're getting is not, quite frankly. It's nickel-plated iron, and that iron will start flaking off at around 11 to 12 years, and then your investment becomes scrap metal at that point.
And you do have to pay a premium for them over the lead acid too, right?
Oh yeah. And then they don't. I mean, why would they tell you what I'm telling you? Because they're trying to sell their product, and they're expensive. I haven't done a price comparison between what they cost and what the Trojan batteries cost, but they are pricey, and you are paying a lot of money for something that will not last indefinitely because of that cheapness, and that's why ZapWorks is not back into production because of the how expensive it is to have a foundry do genuine nickel iron plates where it's done in a proper manner as opposed to plating nickel on iron.
Now, John, when you say nickel iron, you mean some of the plates are solid nickel and some of them are solid iron. Is that correct?
No. It's the plates themselves are nickel iron. They're
an alloy.
It's an alloy, a nickel iron alloy.
Oh,
Thank you.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Now, Hank has done some experiments with alternating nickel plates and iron plates. It appears the experiment has not been successful because he could put those in production relatively inexpensively and has not done so. So my belief is that experiment did not get the results he was looking for.
So it's the alloying
that's
tricky.
Well, Thomas Edison was known for doing hundreds, maybe thousands of experiments with his various people that work with him. And I wouldn't doubt at all that he attempted to do the same thing. Want to hold on through the break, Dan?
Yeah, for a little while.
Okay, we have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We're continuing our energy cleaner promotion, which began August of 2016. In this promotion, you get to buy an energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and a mattress pad, 10% off retail. $200 of the purchase price of the energy cleaner goes to Republic Broadcasting. This is a great way to help get energy cleaners out to people who need them and have some financial issues to deal with. And, of course, a great way to support Republic Broadcasting. Here's what you do. Send in a postcard. My address is John Moore, P.O. Box 201, Davidsville, Missouri. We pick a postcard every 2 weeks. If your postcard is drawn, you get the chance to buy the energy cleaner, $70 off retail, and 10% off the mattress pads. Put your name and your address, your telephone number, and your email address on the postcard, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. My website is libertyman.com. That is thelibertyman.com. I want to remind people, if you want to have a dramatic increase in your home library, on the right side there of my homepage, right above the rocket stove, Tim Spencer's Digital Survival Library on a Stick. This is his home business. Tim actually fabricates these flash drives himself, and more than 1,750 books, publications. They're all military publications, by the way. And you'll find 24 or more that you really, really like. Would want to have in your private library. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there. Of course, also at my website, you'll find energy cleaner for sale. This is my home business. And when you place your order, I'm the guy that packs them up and ships them. When you place your order for the mattress pads, I'm the guy that reconfigures the mattress pad that I get direct from the factory, and I box them up and ship them also from the little country post office in Cherryville, Missouri. If you have arthritis pain, joint pain, or back pain, you need an energy cleaner. What are you waiting for? Not getting a great night's sleep, taking pills, you need an energy cleaner. I use mine every night. We have a Black Friday special on the energy cleaner. Keeping in mind we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. The Black Friday special begins Thursday, the 23rd. It goes to midnight, the 27th. When you place your order, you'll be paying full retail. I can't change my automated system for a couple of days sale. And then I manually refund the difference in the sale price. If you're sending a check, just go ahead and make out the dollar amount for the correct amount. $25 off energy cleaners and 10% off mattress pads. My toll-free hour line, 24 hours a day, here it is, 800-592-9543. I say it again, 800-592-9543. We're taking questions, calls, and comments here at Republic Broadcasting at 800-313-9443. Dan, you got some follow-up comments or questions, sir?
Well, there's so much running through my little mind, what's left of it. As far as your powerhouse, where you're going to take your hydro generated power and put it into your batteries, is that the structure you were talking about? You're going to EMP protect?
Right. That's it. Yeah, you've seen it. You've been there, right?
I've been there. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm in awe of the hydro power potential you've got there. That spring is just classic.
1 million gallons a day. Yep.
How many?
1 million gallons a day.
Oh my goodness. What are you going to do about the electrical leads that come from the generator? Because the generator's outside, right, where the water can hit it.
Right.
And what are you going to do about those leads where they come into your building? Would the EMP follow that in?
It will, and we're gonna have a mechanism to cut that off, because the EMP is going to happen probably at 2:00 on a Saturday morning, something like that. So that'll be cut off and easily
like a big knife switch, or
and I'll be talking to our engineer. Used to work for the national power grid in the Czech Republic, and I follow. He's also a graduate of Rankin Trade School in St. Louis. So I follow his advice. I got my own ideas, but when it comes to my expertise, I don't have. I follow the advice of the real experts.
Is he living around here somewhere?
He lives in Jefferson County. Right. He's one of our investors.
Really? Okay. I don't guess I've met him. Well, that'll be interesting to see how he designs that disconnect, because I'll have to consider that too.
Absolutely. Well, it has to be something that can't be breached by the EMP, and I'll leave it to the expert. And I'll be glad to share that with you, Dan, when I find out.
All right. Well, John, I sure appreciate your show.
Okay. Thank you for the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Call number is 800-313-9443. There was a famous line that Clint Eastwood did in one of his films. I think it was one of the Westerns. I'm not positive. I believe it's something like, a man's got to know his limitations. And that's true. You need to understand your limitations and work within them, and be able to work around those limitations by getting whatever advice, education, skill sets, tools, whatever it might be, to overcome whatever limitation it is you're dealing with. Whether it's a skill set limitation, a physical limitation, a knowledge limitation, whatever it is, figure out the workarounds. And that's something I'm very, very good at. Looks like we've got the name of the film where that came from, Magnum Force, 1973. Thank you, sir. Yeah. One of the things that people I work with learn rather quickly is that I'm a problem solver. I recall I was working with Mr. Shaw, Charles Shaw, the attorney I worked with, who wrote the book that the film The Great Escape was based on, starring Steve McQueen. Mr. Shaw did in real life what Steve McQueen pretended to do in the movie, be captured and escape from Nazi German POW camps 5 times. So I'm working there in Mr. Shaw's office as his investigator and trial assistant, and he was talking to a client. We specialize in criminal defense, by the way, and we had a office overlooking a street in downtown Clayton, Missouri. And he walks into my office, which is right next to his, and he called me Chief. He says, "Chief, come with me." And he had his client with him. We walked to one of the offices, another office, and he points out the window. He says, "I need to know who that person is there." And he points to a car a couple hundred feet away. And I said, okay, Charles, I'll find out. And I had the answer in his hands less than 15 minutes later. I had the make and model and license plate of the car. I checked with my sources very quickly, and I learned the identity of the person operating that car and their home address in less than 15 minutes. Now, he wasn't surprised, because that was his expectation. We had been working together for several years at that point. We had been friends for several years before I went to work for him. And he referred to me as a quote-unquote straight-ahead thinker. That was Mr. Shaw's term for his trial assistant, John Moore. And you can be also. You can develop your critical thinking skills, your problem-solving skills, if you decide to, if you work at it. As I sometimes say, U.S. Military Intelligence School took my pile of mush 19-year-old brain and made it something useful. They made it into a research tool. If there's one thing I got out of U.S. Military Intelligence School, It was problem-solving ability, how to approach any given problem, use my critical thinking skills, and reach a resolution quickly, because that's the whole key to many of these things. It's how fast you can achieve the goal without having to ponder and think and wonder for hours or days or weeks. That's the key. That's the key to it, in my opinion, is the ability to do it quickly and reach the correct answer, the correct resolution, of course. If you don't reach the correct resolution, what's the point? And it's an acquired skill. I sometimes refer to my Rolodex. Yes, that's an antiquated term, but if you're over age 50, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say Rolodex. It's a brand name for an analog way to keep track of contacts. I refer to my Rolodex as sometimes being a pretty scary place, because the men and women that are on my Rolodex go places that you would typically see in a Tom Clancy novel. That's the people, the men and women I associate with and have for decades. And something I found out also many, many years ago is that personal relationships will trump non-disclosure agreements. Personal relationships will trump security markings on documents. If I help a FBI agent achieve his goal, well, then he in turn wants to help me achieve my goals. If I help somebody military intelligence with something they're dealing with, they want to help me. If I save the life of the daughter of a former Navy SEAL, he'll do what he can to help me. I'm not talking about, fantasies here. I'm talking about things I've really done, of course, in the real world. I've done a lot of things for a lot of years and gone places that you would only read about in Tom Clancy novels, done things you would read about in murder mysteries. Being a criminal investigator, trial assistant, paralegal has taken me to some very unusual places that normal human beings never have any access to. And I bring all that to the table. I bring all that knowledge, that base of knowledge, that experience to the table. I currently have a couple of business propositions that I'm working on where I'm being recruited in executive positions. I'm probably going to be doing both of them. It looks like that's the current status of that. I'm looking forward to working on both of those. Let's see, we've got a caller on hold here. We got Henry in North Carolina. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning, John. I appreciate you taking my call. First of all, I guess I'm calling in regards to your Navy map, but before I get to that, I do want to say, in regards to the energy cleaner, the mattress pad that you sell is much more user-friendly than the screen wire.
Oh, yeah. That's why we do it.
Two pieces of screen wire, but yeah, the mattress pad really does work good. But in regards to your Navy map, I found this last night. Actually, it was on RBN's homepage, where the stories go across the top, the stories or whatever that rotate. It says media silent as Fed committee quietly passes act allowing warrantless searches. So I clicked on that to read it, and then up at the top, there's a picture of what I guess is supposed to be the House Judiciary Committee.
Right.
The picture looks like it's taken from about, 60, 80 feet, across from the other wall where the map is. But as I looked at the picture, it looks like Florida is shaded out or in white, and a good part of the East Coast. But like I said, the picture is so far back, it's a little bit hard to tell exactly. But I thought maybe Tim or somebody could maybe enhance it or maybe bring it in a little bit closer.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look at that. And what's the name of the article again? Media warrantless searches.
Media silent as Fed committee quietly passes act allowing warrantless searches. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
the picture's right at the top when you click on the story. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't expect to see that at RBN's website, but you never know what's going to come up.
You don't. Well, just want to say I really appreciate you and appreciate your show very much. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate the call, Henry. The call number is 800-313-94. I'm looking at that image now, and I have to blow this thing up here. It's hard to do that. Maybe my engineer can do it. It looks like the lower 48 there, and I'm not going to comment anymore until I have a chance to blow this thing up and get a better look at it. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. The call number is 800-313-9443. Well, there might be some different shading on Florida. It doesn't look like it's underwater to me, but I'll have to look at that more carefully later. It does look like the East Coast and Florida have different shading than the rest of the country. Interesting. And of course, this is the United States Congress in the Capitol building. Yeah, it's definitely different shading. We need to enhance that and look at it a little bit better, make a determination if they're trying to get a message across to us or not. But the East Coast, Florida, the Gulf Coast definitely has different shading. I'm not sure about Baja California. They don't show an inland sea, which would be critical to this if it was a representation of the Navy map. Beautiful room, by the way. Very large, beautiful room. They know how to spend our money, don't they? Okay. Life is a journey. And I made a decision during the Tet Offensive, 1968, that, and this is a common thing for young women and men to do in combat, is try to make a deal with God. But I promised God that if I lived through that experience, that I would do important things that had important consequences. I didn't know what my life's journey would take me. Being 20 years old with no education of any consequence, one semester of college, I didn't know what direction my life was going to go. And that was what I said to God at the time. God, let me live through this. I'm too young to die, in my opinion. Of course, I would think that. Everybody would, right? And if you let me live through this, I'll have a good life where I do important things that have important consequences. I left it kind of open there for God's judgment and intervention for whatever would come my way. And looking back on it, half a century later, it was the right thing to do. And that's the life I have lived. And obviously life has regrets along the way. My life does also, on one hand, but overall, I'm very pleased with the direction my life has gone. And looking back on it, I can see that there was certainly divine intervention at critical points in my life. Sometimes it was a harsh wake-up call, very harsh sometimes, but ended up with a good outcome. And we have a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Wednesday, the 22nd of November. During the break, I was looking at this map that was pointed out by Henry there in North Carolina. The areas shaded white, which include the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, that does conform to the areas that will be flooded, according to the Navy map. They don't go quite as far up on the Gulf Coast states as the Navy says when it comes to Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. But those areas that are shaded white on this map will definitely be underwater, according to the U.S. Navy. And I can't get enough clarity and enlargement to see exactly what's going on with Baja California over there. So we'll reserve our final conclusion on that for a little bit later. But I want to thank Henry for locating that map and getting it to us, bringing it to our attention. Just about out of time here, this show. We have no live broadcast Thursday or Friday. Be back live Monday. Remind people we have a Black Friday sale that begins tomorrow on energy cleaners, $25 off, 10% off mattress pads. When you place your order, you'll be paying full retail. I manually take care of the discount. I have to do that manually. It's an automated system. And, of course, if you're sending a check, just calculate the correct dollar amount, $25 off the energy cleaner, 10% off mattress pads, and get that check postmarked before midnight the 27th. We'll be good to go then. Okay, I hope you all have a fun, safe, happy holiday. Don't eat too much when you go to your different events. A friend of mine was bragging about how he could go to a buffet and eat so much he'd have to lay down on the floor when he got home. That's unfortunate, but a lot of people feel that they want to or need to do that. I don't myself. I'll take one plate of food, and that's it. I rarely go back for seconds of any kind. And that one plate is not stacked up all that high. Thank you very much. But don't overdo it. There's 50 million people going to be on the roads this holiday. Be sure you get home, return home safely from whatever it is you're going to. Keep an eye out for people that aren't paying attention. Make sure your motor vehicle is in excellent condition and ready to go with no issues. And look forward to being back with all of you Monday morning. And we'll have Firearms Monday as we do most Mondays. Talk about everything related to the gun culture, firearms laws, rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, optics, all those things. Looking forward to that as always. And we'll enjoy that holiday. I'm looking forward to having a couple of days off. And that's it. That's it for the day. That's it for the week. Your medical supplies, your energy cleaning, your essential oils now while you can. Your firearms ammunition. Never ever give up your guns. Please do have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.